Hello, everyone. So today is going to be the first of two videos on library databases. I may have to add another video later on if there's questions or concerns. So before we dig into the library databases, let's look. Anytime we begin something for the papers, I want you to have your handout packet available. It's in all of the week overviews. So if you go to week two's overview here, or I'm sorry, in the learning materials, it is under handout packet, either PDF or Microsoft Word. So always have that open and available anytime you're working on a paper topic. So let's go to that. And we'll go to page 2 in the handout packet. So I don't want you overly concerned at this point with all the specifics of the essay. Okay, a general overview is all you really need to know at this point. And then as we start drafting is when we can get into some of the specifics. But if you'd like to know most of the specifics, you can read through these next couple pages here. So first, the first essay will be a compare and contrast style essay on a topic of interest from a non-Western country. A comparison shows how two things are alike. A contrast shows how two things are different. In this case, the topic will need to be examined from an American perspective and from the perspective of another country. Most importantly, you will need to draw conclusions from the findings. Okay, so the one thing I want to point out there is that it needs to be it's compare and contrast, so you have to study both your topic in the country that you're studying and also in the US. So your searches that we're going to work on here are mainly going to focus on the country you're studying. But at some point, you also have to find some research articles about the US on that topic so that you have enough material to compare and contrast. Okay, we'll talk about more about that as we get farther in the paper process. Just know that get as much done on the studying your country front as possible, then switch over and look up articles on the US and that topic as well. This first essay needs to show a command of the topic studied. This means that you'll need to have a good working understanding of the culture or country concerning this topic. Of course, this is limited by only having 4 to 5 weeks to write the paper. However, working knowledge on this topic should be gained with reading about 10 to 12 academic articles. At that point, you'll have more information on that given topic than nearly anyone else on campus. Because of this working knowledge, you should be able to form judgments based on those findings. Okay, so first, 4 to 5 weeks to write the paper. It'll be 6 to 7 weeks overall. I've actually never given that long on the first paper, but given this transition to online learning, I decided to add in a little extra time in case there are any hiccups along the way. But given that, right, you should be able, over the course of that time, you should be reading at least 10 to 12 academic journal articles or more, okay, to get a good general working understanding of the topic. Now, we'll talk about what that means, reading an academic journal article, in a little while. But you figure at that point, like I said, if you were doing hip hop in Japan, my favorite topic to use as an example, if you've read 12 academic articles on that, there's a good chance you're in the top 1% of people on campus with knowledge about that subject. So you should be able to start making informed judgments about that topic after reading that many academic articles. Now, some of you will read more than that, and it may involve skimming or that, but at least 10 to 12 academic articles should be consulted. We'll talk more about the research writing process in the next week or two. But One thing I do want to note, I mentioned this before, because this is actually going to be a pretty short paper, it's going to be 5 pages plus a works cited. I want you to avoid history or historical topics. Keep your topic grounded in the present, okay, within the last 10 years or so. The reason for this is historical topics need a lot more background and need more analysis of that background. And I don't feel like we can do that in a quality manner in 5 short pages. So I'm going to ask you not to do any historical topics. Keep it grounded in the relative present. Okay? It'll be very hard when we talk about the writing process to complete the requirements of the writing process if you were to use history. Okay? The only other thing I want to point out about the paper now is I said you should read at least 10 to 12 academic articles overall, and that's on your country and on the US, maybe more than that, but at least that. For your actual paper, you'll have to have a minimum of 7 sources, and at least 5 of them need to be academic journals. Academic journals are the most trustworthy source that you can use in an academic paper, and we'll talk about why they're trustworthy in the coming weeks. Not all of your sources need to be academic journals. You could have 2 other trustworthy sources, and we'll talk about how to evaluate if they're trustworthy or not. But if you plan on using all 7 of your sources or more as academic journals, it'll make your life a lot easier because you won't have to evaluate them for trustworthiness. We know those are trustworthy sources. Okay. Don't forget, and 75% of your paper needs to be based on academic journals. I want to make sure you're able to, that's the main skill I'm going to be evaluating is, can they locate academic journals? Can they write about and analyze information from academic journals? And can they create a paper based on that? Please remember that Wikipedia cannot be used in the final paper, and a lot of your other preliminary search cannot as well. It was merely to get your feet wet in the topic, to understand it, and to develop lists of keywords. Okay, so let's go to page 4. Just quick review on that. So for today, I also want you to have your keyword chart handy. Okay, have your keyword chart. Hopefully you've been filling that out. And have that handy. It'll help you in your library search. Okay, so remember, keywords are the most important nouns: the person, place, thing, or ideas. Right. So in hip hop, the alternate names for hip hop were some keywords. The founder's name was a keyword, and so on. Okay, so make sure you're using keywords because if you're in your library search and you only have 1 or 2 keywords, you'll get stuck and you won't know where to go. Where if you have a long list of keywords, you can say, oh, I'm just going to pop in this other word or this other word and see what happens. Okay. So today we're going to begin what's called formal research. As you can see, it starts with keywords and preliminary research. Then you move into what are called the library databases. What we're going to do today is we're going to look at one particular database called Ebscohost. Okay. The reason for this is because our library has hundreds, if not thousands, of databases. Okay. And if we just search the entire library of databases, each one of those databases works a little different. And so it can be unwieldy, it can be difficult, it can be frustrating. Okay, so imagine it as if it's a giant file cabinet that the entire library's databases are. One big file cabinet full of articles. Okay, millions and millions of articles. Each drawer of that file cabinet is one database. And so in this case, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of drawers. Each one of those drawers behaves a little differently, looks a little differently, but they work on some basic principles. And so by focusing in on one drawer today, you can learn those basic principles that should, when you go to the other drawers, you'll know what to look for. Okay, and we'll look at those other drawers in or the other databases in the second part of this video, or I'm sorry, the next video. Okay, so when we go to the library databases in a moment here, what you'll be doing is think of it. You want to use the broad term first, which is your country that you're studying, and then a slightly narrower term, which is your broad topic. Okay, so that's how you're going to start your library research, but have other keywords on hand. Okay, so I'm going to tell you, make sure you have your keyword chart up. And then what I want you to do is to go to clarion.edu/libraries. There's also in D2L, there's under university resources, you can go to library as well. Okay, but I want you to go to, I'm going to tell you the first two steps here and then maybe pause until you get those steps ready. Have your keyword chart handy. Go to clarion.edu/libraries. And you might want to use the pause button a number of times during this, although I will go over it a few times. Okay, so what we're going to do today is scroll down and go to databases A to Z. Okay, so clarion.edu/libraries, databases A to Z. Okay, then we're going to go down to E, and what I want you to use is Ebsco Gateway. Okay, I feel like this drawer, this database, is one of the simplest for understanding the key concepts as to how a database behaves. Okay, so next we'll click on Ebscohost Web, select all, and continue. Okay, so let me do that one more time. We got Ebscohost Gateway, Ebscohost Web, select all, and continue. Okay, now pause if you need to, till you get to that point. Okay, now what I want you to do is put in your country name. So we're going to go with my favorite here, Japan. And just a note here, search terms always work best if you use the root of the word. So if I were to put in Japan or Japanese, you'd get many, many more results with Japan, because Japan includes both Japan and Japanese, where if you put in Japanese, it doesn't include results for Japan. It only includes them for Japanese. So you always want to use the most base word possible. So Japan and hip hop. Okay, whatever your country and topic are. And you hit search. Now, some of you will get thousands of results. Some of you will get hundreds of results. And some of you will get 0 results. If you're in one of those first two categories, keep going with me. Okay, and if you get 0 results, what you're going to want to do is try some of your other keywords. So like in this case, you might want to switch to Japan and music, or Japan and contemporary music, right? And then look for hip hop within that. But for now, so try your other keywords if that first one gives you 0 results, and keep trying different keywords. Now, if you still get 0 results, I want you to follow along with the rest of this video, but then what you should do is skip ahead to week 3 and review the second library database video, okay? Because that'll give you how to use all of the databases. And so you should, for almost any topic, get many more results there. Okay, so try all your different keywords. If you're still getting 0 results, watch the rest of this video to know how this works. but then go on to the video from week 3. Okay, you can see I do get a bunch of results, 2,000. So we want to limit it, what's called limit, okay? Or I'm sorry, actually 31,000 here. So we want to narrow down those results a little bit, or use what's called limiters. And so what you want to do is first hit on full text, because that's going to make it readily available. You can see right here, you see PDFs pulling up right away. So you have access to those materials immediately. Again, due to the quick move online and not having as much in-person access to the library, I think we're going to stick mostly to this so that you have these materials readily accessible. The second limiter I want you to do is date. In most research papers, you should keep the date of the articles you're studying within 10 years. Okay, now I give some flexibility to that. Since 2020 is not over yet, you could do 2009 or 2008. I'm not too worried about that. So 2000, we'll just say 7 or 8, okay? As long as it's close to 10 years. If you're in another class and you're doing a paper on science or medicine or something that being up to date really matters a lot, then you want to keep it to within 5 years. Okay, but for our purposes, we're going to keep it 10 to 12 years is fine. Okay, now you see I still get 19,000. If you're getting 0 now after narrowing it down, or only a handful, you could try well, first check out if those handful are going to be useful. If not, try your other keywords, or like I said, follow along for the rest of the video and then go on to the next. Okay, the other limiter I want you to use is academic journals. Okay, again, academic journals are the most trustworthy source. We'll discuss why at a different point. But academic journals are the most trustworthy, so we're going to focus on them. Now, if you're a person who really likes books and thinks that they give you a bit more context, you could go down to ebooks and click that as well. Okay, matter of fact, I'll do that. So sometimes a limiter will pop up here that says peer review. If it does, click on that as well, but it doesn't have it here. Okay, so I still get 14,000 results here, but I can see that these results are along the lines of what I would be looking for, right? So you could start just scanning through the results, see if any of the titles look like something you could use, right? Or I'm actually just going to switch tabs here. Okay. Make sure that the full text limiter is pressed, because that's the one that we're really going to need today. You can also see that these say academic journal right on them, so pay attention to that, because if you didn't do the limiters quite accurately, or if there was an error in the algorithm for it, reviews or some other things might pop up. So look for academic journals. And what I want you to do next is look through the titles and see if any of those sound like they could be helpful. Okay. You find one that you think could be helpful, you click on the title first. When we get to the next page, my computer's being a little slow here, so hopefully it keeps going. This is what's called the abstract page. Okay, it's the abstract page. It gives you information about the author, the sources, subjects that are covered in this article, and usually an abstract or a brief summary of the article. Okay, so one thing you want to do is read through the abstract, see if you think it'll be helpful or not, and then if so, if you think this is going to be helpful, maybe write down some of the subjects and use them as future keywords for your search. Okay, because sometimes you can find new keywords there. We should make note that on the side here, You could add the article to your Google Drive. You could print it. You could email it, save it, cite it, and permalink. Although for the permalink, I should note you need to be logged in to your library to use the permalink. Okay. What I want to cover, let's just say you end up reading this article and you think it's going to be helpful. Okay. We'll talk about how to read it in one moment. But I want to show you what you should do is you should start taking notes. I recommend doing it in Microsoft Word or similar. Oh, wrong one. Over here. Okay. And what I recommend is you just save it as something like note sheet, paper one note sheet. You could have the date, whatever you like. Use a heading. And then what I recommend is for every source you think there's a chance you might use it in your paper, you want to have the citation, the page number, and then put what you think you might use in quotes. This will help you remember later that it's from a quote, not from your own notes. You'll be very thankful that you got the citation and the page number later because it will save you a lot of work. I see people often saving those for the end and then getting frustrated because they can't find those articles again and end up just not citing things, which hurts their paper grade quite a bit. So from the get-go, I'm going to show you how to do this. Get the citation, the page number, and put whatever you're taking from the article into quotes. Okay, so it's very simple. You go to the abstract page where we are. You go to Cite. For this paper, we're going to be doing MLA citation. So you scroll down to MLA, and then you just copy and paste the entry over to the top here. Okay. If you do that, it will save you a lot of work in the later stages of this paper. Next, what I want you to do is check this page for something called a DOI. Okay. Sometimes it's right here. Sometimes it's in the citation. And sometimes it's actually in the PDF, the actual document. But see if there's a DOI. If there is, and there isn't here, but if there is, add it to your citation. You'll be thankful later. Okay. So now you like this article, you want to use or read it, find out if it's useful, you go to the PDF. Always when you're given an option, go to the PDF over anything else. Sometimes you'll get an HTML option. Go to the PDF instead whenever possible because it's actually page for page from the actual journal. And it'll help you especially with getting to know the right page numbers. Okay, so here's the actual article from the journal. I want to use it. I got the citation up here. Say I want to use this quote. I paste it over and I want the page number. Now this is something you have to be careful with. A lot of people put this number. That would be incorrect. This is the page number of the PDF, not the actual page number from the journal. Okay, so not this page number. Instead, look on the actual page you're taking it from. Okay, in this case, it's page 28. Okay, so not this one. Instead, on the actual page, page 28. And then you'd put the page number here. Okay. Then you read more, say you want, there's another quote you think you might use, copy and paste it over, check the page number, we have 29, okay? So make sure you have the citation, the page number, put the quote into quotation marks. Okay, now I want to go back to your handout packet for a moment. So, as you read academic articles, I want to give you some advice for it. First, start early. I know students like to wait till the last minute for assignments. It does not work well in this course. The reason for that is, say you wait till 11 o'clock the day it's due and it's due at 12 o'clock. You can think, oh, I've done research before. This should be easy. It'll take me 20 minutes, right? First of all, that's not realistic. You're not going to produce good work in that time. But second of all, say you can't find anything. You try another keyword, can't find anything. Another keyword, can't find anything, right? And now it's 11:30, 11:45, and you still can't find anything, right? In a research-based course, waiting till the last minute doesn't work, because if you have a problem in your research, you need time to check in with me or check in with the librarian to get help. Okay, so start early. We'll go step by step through all of the parts of the paper, and so that's good, but try not to wait the last minute. Try to plan to do all assignments the day before they're due, finish them the day before they're due. That'll give you plenty of time if there is a problem. Seek help. Transitioning from high school research and reports to college level research and writing can be difficult. This is why we do it step by step. However, it's also important to seek help. If you're unsure, ask a friend in the class, ask in the course questions section of D2L, come to my Zoom office hours, ask me questions in class, and or talk to the librarians or writing center. Okay, students who ask for help do much better in this class, especially. I often see students who spend 3 marathon days trying to find research, and they're like, I can't find anything, right? And I'm like, you just wasted 20-30 hours of your life. If you're not finding anything and it's taking a little while, reach out, because usually I can give you and say, oh, well, that keyword you're using wouldn't work here. Try this one instead, right? Or the librarian. Whenever possible, reach out to the library. I have a PhD. I've been doing this work for a long time. I've published books and articles, and to this day, when I'm in my research process, I email and talk to librarians often every few days, if not more often, when I'm in a research project. They know better keywords, they know better search terms, they know how to make your work more effective. So whenever possible, reach out to the librarians or myself, and it can mean the difference between working 10, 20 hours on something or 1 or 2. Right? Okay. Accept that you will not understand everything. Academic journals are written for experts in the field that they're written about. They will use jargon and other words that people in their field are more familiar with. Since this is an introductory level course, it is not necessary to understand everything you read. Use a dictionary to find definitions of words. Skim over sections that seem unnecessary or unhelpful. If a source does not seem helpful, move quickly to another. You don't need to read every word of an article to decide whether it's effective or not, whether it's going to help you in your paper or not. Usually just a few paragraphs in skimming can tell you if this is going to be a helpful source or not. Okay, as I mentioned before, use the abstracts and keywords. Reading abstracts helps you decide if the article will be useful, and it also helps you generate more keywords. Don't over-research. While it is good to get as much information as your topic as possible, it is not necessary to spend too much time attempting to understand every aspect. As you progress in the university and in classes pertaining to your major, you will need to read more in depth. For now, focus on getting about 15 to 20 facts on your subject. So that means 8 to 10 facts on the country you're studying, and 8 to 10 facts on the U.S. on that same subject. Okay, I see students, taking endless streams of notes and facts, and really you just need less than 20 facts. It could be a lot less than that if the articles are right perfectly what you need, but it's good to have between 15 and 20 facts on hand for as you're starting to write. Be flexible. Go where the research leads you. This might mean adjusting your topic or country based on where the research leads. However, if you find yourself changing topics, check in with me or the librarian to make sure it's a good decision. Perhaps we could just suggest some research tips that would make your original topic work. Okay, so first, again, this is an introductory course. Some people do get married to their topic and love their topic, but I would rather you say, you know what, I really want to write this topic, but as I'm doing research, all of the articles are in this slightly different topic that's similar. Well, just switch to that slightly different topic. Or say, hey, I'm not getting much about Japan in hip-hop. How about if I switch to South Korea in hip-hop? Or some other country in hip-hop, right? So switch your country when needed. Switch your topic when needed. But if you have done a ton of work on your topic and you're not finding stuff in the library, reach out to me or the librarian before you change, because sometimes just a slight change in your search terms can mean all the difference. Okay, so let's go back to your search. Okay, so you can click go back to the result list. I want to go over, just show you this a couple more times so that you're used to this. So you go on click on the title. It brings you to the abstract page. You have your subject headings, right? You have your summary. You have your PDF up here. You have all your tools here, including citation. Go down to MLA, copy and paste it over to your note sheet. Look for the DOI. Again, there's no DOI here, no DOI here. Look for it as you're looking at the PDF. See if there's a DOI there. If not, then don't worry. But you'll be happy later on if you catch it. Take your quote. Make sure to look at the page number on the page, not on the PDF. Write your page number and put your quote into quotes so you don't get confused later on. Okay. Now, if you've clicked on the full text, you should have no problem locating any of these texts. They should be mostly in PDF format. As I said, whenever possible, choose the PDF over the HTML, okay? Because this gives you the actual page numbers where this does not. So let's go here. I just want to show you one that has, I believe this one has a DOI. Yep, there's the DOI. So you'd copy that right over into the end of your citation. That'll save you time later on, okay? Now, I noticed there's one here that looks like doesn't have the PDF available. Okay. Now, as I said, when we hit full text, we should get mostly all PDFs, but there will be occasionally something that doesn't have it. Now that can be a little more complicated. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to locate it. I usually try these before class, and I didn't try this one. But let's see what happens. Let's see if we can. And if you can't locate it, just move on to another article, right? Okay, so here's the abstract page. It doesn't even give you a summary. So, I mean, that is a good sign that you might just want to move on to something else. But let's look. So we got to remember this name. Okay. Matter of fact, keep this page open and then open a new tab the search page here. Okay, so it does say full text available and view full text. Let's see, let's try here. Okay, there. You might have to sign in again sometimes. You might have to, okay, so in this case, if you go back to the abstract page, you notice the article's from 2013, January, and it's issue number 32-1. Okay, so you do have to make note of that. So you go to 2013, you go January, and make sure it says volume 1, hit view issue. And then you look for that name representing, there it is. Okay, and then full text PDF. Now, in this case, you would have to hit cite here. You could download the PDF here. You could email or print it. And here's your article. Now again, remember, oh, there's the DOI, so you might want to copy that right away. Here's the abstract if you want to read the abstract. And so now this is from, I said we were an Ebscohost drawer or database, right? This is ProQuest, so it looks different. But you can see it still has most of the elements of Ebscohost. They're just in different places. So they have the tools that we're using, right? They have the abstract, they have references page, they have the full text, they have the DOI, etc. So it's on in a different drawer, so it behaves and looks a little differently. So again, you take your quote, you look for the page number on the actual page, and you add it to your list here. You generate the citation, and don't forget, go to MLA. If there's multiple MLAs, go to the latest edition. And you copy or paste it over, okay? Okay, now if you're having problems, if you're not finding enough material, you can skip to the next video from next week, and we'll look at using all of the databases at once, okay? For anybody that wants it, I can give you the, I'll give you the quick how to use Ebsco here one more time, and then we'll call it a day. So you go to first, you go to databases A to Z. You go to Ebscohost Gateway. You go to Ebscohost Web. You hit Select All, Continue. You put in your search. By the way, there are some tricks you could do to make this shorter, but I want to make sure we do it accurately and fully, so I'm doing it a little bit, skipping a couple shortcuts. Okay, you search, then you put in your limiters, full text, and you put in date within about 10 years, though I said about 2008 is fine. Then you can put academic journals, and you can put ebooks. Okay, ebooks are kind of like we did with this last ProQuest one. You might have to look around a little bit to find the elements, but you should be able to find them. One other thing is, say you're still getting 10,000 entries and they're not all that helpful, you could go to something like subject or subject major heading, and you could click on or off things that might be more helpful. So say I just want to focus on music only. I could click on that and update the list. And that'll narrow it down if you're getting thousands of entries and they're not all that helpful. See, it gets me down to 18. Okay. And I can always, what's it called? Refine results, right? Or get rid of certain filters. Like I could go back here and I could add other filters to it. Okay. But I think that's enough today. So start working on your research for week 3. Once you finish the Google assignment and all that, start using this to find articles. You can look at the assignment in week 3. We'll go over it next week. You'll have to locate 5 academic articles that you find useful. So start locating those articles. Contact me with any problems you have at all, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks.